2 brothers, 1 woman, and a secret that could destroy them all. Her name is Nora, and love was only the beginning of the war. Thanks for tuning into L-Tales, where every love story hides a darker truth. Chris Halterman, handsome, rugged, an emotionally closed-off ex-Marine in his 40s, sat in his truck outside the arrivals terminal, engine humming beneath him like a restless heart. The printout in his hand was worn from how often he'd looked at it. Amale, the South African beauty the agency had promised him, fair-skinned with elegant cheekbones and long straight black hair, she looked like a model. She looked perfect, just how he liked his women. Classy, slim and refined. He checked his mirror again, adjusted his collar. It had been years since he felt this nervous. But then he saw her. At first he didn't realize she was walking toward him. It was Nora with glowing ebony skin, soft braided hair tucked in a scarf and soft curves with full lips. She clutched a small worn bag to her chest. Her eyes were searching, hopeful, nervous. He rolled his window down halfway. "Hi," she said gently. "Are you Chris?" Chris doesn't hide his shock and disgust. "You got the wrong guy. I'm waiting for someone else." She hesitated, then pulled out a folded piece of paper. It had his photo, their chats, his name. "My name is Nora," she said, trying to smile. Chris stared in disbelief. "What the hell is this? Who the hell are you?" I signed up with the agency," she stammered. "But they said I wouldn't be picked because of my skin, so they used another photo. They said she was more appealing." His heart thudded with fury. "You fraud. Of course, Africans. Y'all liars and scammers. I told my stupid brother this was a very bad idea. Go back to your country, you liar." Before she could explain further, he stepped on the gas, tires screeching. In the rearview mirror, she grew smaller. Just a speck, a mistake he didn't want to deal with. It was near midnight. The airport was closing. The last of the staff was sweeping up. Nora sat slumped in the waiting area, her stomach growling. She'd used her last few dollars on a stale sandwich. Her scarf barely shielded her from the cold creeping in from the glass doors. "Ma'am, we're closing now," security said kindly. She nodded, dragging herself outside to the nearest bench by the bus drop. The air bit through her thin jacket. Tears stung her eyes, but she forced them back. Crying didn't change anything. It never had. She knew escaping to America wouldn't be easy, but she had no idea she'd be stranded. All the money she had went to the mail-order bride agency. They said I was pretty, and men, especially white men, would be tripping over themselves to have me. Well, don't look at me like that. If you knew where I was coming from, you wouldn't judge me. All I wanted was freedom. Now I'm free but have nowhere to go. Deep in thoughts, and not paying much attention to her surroundings, a man in hooded jacket snuck up to her and snatched her luggage and ran. Nora chased after him, cutting through traffic, but he was faster, stronger, and her tired and hungry. She stopped, feeling faint, gasping for breath. She returned to the bus stand, cold, scared, and penniless. Why was life unfair? Who had she offended? And why was God punishing her? That luggage had the only memories she had of her late mom and husband. The pictures, her mom's recipe book, her husband's wristwatch found at the scene of his accident, all gone. Her tears flowed freely now, rolling down her cheeks uncontrollably. She didn't see the man approach until his shadow covered her. "You all right?" he asked. She wiped her tears, looking up. He wasn't like Chris. This man's eyes were softer, gentle, warm. "What are you still doing here?" he said, surprised. He remembered her face, the sad, lonely woman at the airport waiting area. He'd asked her to leave about 10 minutes ago. He held out a coat. "Take it," he said. "You'll freeze out here." Nora accepted it, thanking him. "You know, the last bus had already left," he said, looking at her curiously. Nora shook, the cold biting her skin, her fingers numb. She was used to Nigeria's blazing hot weather. Not this hellish cold, but she had survived worse. So she knew she'd survive this. How, she had no idea. There was no going back now. "If you need a place to rest your head, I've got a ranch just outside town. Spare room, I won't ask questions. You look like you've had more than enough of those." I have no money," she said, feeling vulnerable and ashamed. "My car is just over there, if you're interested." She looked at him. He looked genuine. Maybe, just maybe, this would be my little glimpse of hope, she thought. "I'm Caleb." He showed her his security badge. Nora, she said, her heart thumping in her chest. She reminded herself that this wasn't Nigeria, and no one here was hunting for her. She took his offer. Scared, yes, but she knew if she survived this night, God was definitely looking out for her. Nora sat quietly in the passenger seat, her hand resting on her lap. As the car rumbled down the gravel path, Caleb was behind the wheel, focused, silent, his hat casting a shadow over his face. Dust curled up in soft plumes behind them. Nora turned to the window, her breath catching. The ranch sprawled out endlessly before her, like something from a movie she'd never imagined herself in. Rolling green pastures stretched beyond the horizon, stitched with white wooden fences that curved with the land. Horses grazed lazily under the morning sun, their coats glistening. A few cows huddled near a water trough, swatting flies with their tails. The scent of earth grass and something, faintly smoky from a far-off barn fire pit, wafted through the air. She saw a faded red barn in the distance, its paint peeling but proud, with a weathered wind vane spinning slowly on top. It looked similar to the barn in Chris's photos. She shook the thought away. It was merely a coincidence, she thought. A dog sprinted alongside their car for a few seconds, before veering off barking in excitement. Everything felt untouched, alive, and wide open. She pressed her fingers to the glass, her voice soft with awe. "It's beautiful," she murmured. Caleb glanced at her briefly, the corner of his mouth tugging into a smile. "Told you. Nothing like it." And in that moment, as the car creaked down the dusty trail, Nora felt something stir in her chest. A nervous excitement, a quiet fear. This was going to be her safe haven. She felt it, and no one would find her here. She was far from home, from everyone she ever knew. This was the fresh start she's always dreamed of. Nora took to the chores immediately, rising at dawn, sweeping the barn floor, scrubbing troughs, prepping meals. She never asked what needed doing, she just did it. And when she was done, she vanished, like vapor. The first time he tried to talk to her was over coffee. He came into the kitchen, muddy boots and all, while she was cracking eggs into a bowl. She stiffened the moment he walked in. "Smells good," he said casually, pouring himself coffee. "You make this every morning?" "Mm-hmm," she replied, eyes on the bowl. "I like eggs scrambled. You?" A beat passed, then, "Sure." Nora answered tight-lipped. Caleb chuckled. That a yes or a go-away? She didn't answer. By the time he blinked, she was already sliding past him, barely brushing his shoulder, and heading outside without her breakfast. She flinched. That was what hit him the most. If he ever came too close, just within arm's reach, her shoulders tensed. One time, by mistake, he'd reached over her to grab a jar off the shelf. She jerked away so violently. He apologized on instinct, even though he hadn't touched her. From then on, he learned to keep his distance. One late afternoon, Caleb returned from fixing a broken fence post to find a loaf of banana bread sitting on the workbench in his barn. Warm, wrapped in foil, no note. He'd been mentioning for days how he missed his mother's banana bread. He looked around. No one. The next morning he found her alone in the barn, brushing down the horses. "I got the bread," he said gently. "Thanks, it was really good." Nora didn't look up, just gave a slight nod, then a tiny, almost invisible smile, the kind you gave strangers at a funeral. He felt like a ghost in his own house. Days passed, then weeks. She avoided him with precision. If he entered the living room, she stood and left without a word. If she heard his boots in the hallway, she ducked into a spare room or slipped outside. At night, he sometimes saw her through the thin curtains of the guest house she stayed in, sitting at her desk, scribbling in a journal, always writing. He wondered what stories were trapped in her quiet hands. A thunderstorm rolled in around 2 a.m. Lightning danced on the walls. Nora thrashed in her sleep, sheets tangled around her legs. Her mouth opened, no sound came, just gasps, silent screams. The cage, she was back in the cage. Metal bars biting into her back, her dress soaked with sweat. A man's hands forcing her mouth open to drink sour palm wine. Another man was behind her. She heard the zipper of his trousers coming undone. "Please don't," she pleaded, voice shaking. He smacked her face hard. She screamed in pain. He lifted her dress. She trembled, panic shooting through her. You whore, stop pretending like you don't like it. He grazed Nora's thighs with a finger. She flinched, and without missing a beat, she bit his ear. Blood dripped from her mouth. The man grabbed his ear in agony. He whipped Nora's back with his belt. Whack, whack. The belt slapped against her back in quick succession. She screamed awake, soaked in sweat. Gasping for breath, Caleb was at her door before she could hide the tears. "Nora, hey, it's me, you're safe." She backed into the corner, nails clawing the floor, eyes wide. "Don't touch me, don't." "I won't, I promise." He sat on the floor back against the wall and waited. Minutes passed, maybe hours. Nora broke the silence, her voice small, scared. Hug, Nora said, voice breaking. "Do you want me to hug you?" Caleb asked, voice calm and reassuring. Nora nodded. He walked slowly toward her, his feet lightly touching the floor. The last thing he wanted was to startle her. Caleb sat beside her and pulled her into a hug, and laid her head against his shoulder. Like a broken umbrella on a rainy day, she didn't speak, but her body trembled against his. He wrapped a blanket around her, like it was a sacred thing. Gosh, his body was warm and inviting. She felt him, and now she wanted to taste him. His hair smelled heavenly like lemongrass. They had never been this close before. The hunger was strange to her. She didn't understand it, but she knew she had to do it. She puckered her lips and kissed him, soft and steady, savoring every touch. Caleb opened his eyes, surprised. He shifted away from her and said goodnight rather quickly, heart racing. "What? You don't want me?" She pulled close to him and kissed him again, deep, passionate. Caleb's body burned with desire. He wanted to take her right there, but couldn't. He knew he had to run before his body betrays him. Her body was soft, warm, and calling him. The last time he was this close to a woman was with his ex Olivia. It's been a year and a half now. He sniffed her hair. It smelt of lavender. His body shivered a little. His brain was getting overpowered by his body. She was too close, her breath hot on his skin. Then he pressed his lips on hers. He shook his head. "No, not like this," he muttered. He jumped up and left. He had to hurry before his body caved. That night she didn't write. It was the first time. A man didn't take advantage, even when he could have and gotten away with it quite easily. He didn't, and for the first time since her husband passed, she didn't feel like a piece of meat. Tears stung her eyes. She wiped them with her sleeve. The days blurred. Nora was too embarrassed to face him after that stolen kiss. She hid from him every morning, waited for him to head out before leaving her room. Whilst cleaning the stables, she broke into a song and didn't hear him enter. "Wow, have never heard you sing. You do it quite beautifully, too." Startled, she turned and shyly said, "I didn't expect you back so soon. Why do I feel like you've been avoiding me?" Nora looked away. "Look at me, Nora." She did, still shy, still embarrassed. "You don't have to be embarrassed." "What happened that night?" Nora said, looking down. But Caleb lifted her chin. Looking straight into her eyes, he saw betrayal, hurt, and a woman dying to be loved. "I see you, Nora. I truly do. So you gotta stop running and hiding." Hearing all that gave her the courage to ask, "Did you mean it that night when you said you wanted me?" "I did, from the very first day I laid eyes on you. But you never said or did anything to prove that. I just came out of one relationship. I wanted to heal first." From then on, she began to stand closer when Caleb talked, no longer afraid he might hurt her like her dead husband's family did. She began to trust again, began to feel again. She started volunteering at the community center, helping them with admin work. She was a PA before her husband passed, so it came easy to her. Caleb always dropped and picked her up. Everyone in town noticed, especially Olivia, Caleb's ex, who she left for some big investor in the city. Now she's back home and definitely didn't like their closeness. May 12th. I walked in the sun today. No one pulled my arm. No one told me to kneel or forced themselves on me. The ranch smells of hay and freedom. I don't trust it yet, but I'm learning. He left a flower on my notebook. A daisy. I don't like flowers. They remind me of funerals, but I kept it. One faithful morning, Olivia showed up. She was flawless in her sundress, lips painted in sin. She smiled at Nora with wolf teeth. "Just wanted to check on Caleb," she said sweetly. "You know, make sure he's not getting scammed." Nora didn't answer, just walked away. That night, Caleb found her sitting outside with her journal open, the daisy tucked between the pages. "You okay?" Nora didn't hesitate. "Do you still love her?" "Who?" He stopped to think. "Olivia," Nora said, avoiding Caleb's eyes. She knew she'd made a mistake asking that question. She wasn't sure she was ready for the answer. "Oh God, was she here today? Did she say anything to you?" "You didn't answer my question." Nora got up to leave. "Nora, you gotta stop running. Told you I wouldn't hurt you. But you would eventually. We mean absolutely nothing to each other." "I mean, what are we exactly?" Nora asked, looking into his eyes. No fear or shyness. "Anything you want us to be, my darling. We could be butterflies if you wish." Nora giggled, the tension melting away. Caleb always knew the right words to say. "We move at whatever pace you want, Nora." "Gosh, have you always been this charming?" "My darling, no, actually. I've also been hurt in the past. I have a feeling mine was not as bad. I hope one day you'd tell me what happened." Nora sighed. Caleb held her hand close to his chest. "Thanks for opening up my heart again. Trust me, I fought hard to subdue those feelings. But the more I got close to you, the more I get sucked in." Caleb shifted in his seat and said, "Can I kiss you?" His voice soft. Nora nodded, shutting her eyes. Caleb gave a short laugh. Nora opened her eyes, confused. "You do really want me?" Caleb said, grinning. Nora playfully pushed him, and before she could say his name, he kissed her, letting out all the pent-up fire, her lips soft against his. Nora held his face, deepening the kiss. Her body burned with desire. For the first time, she let go of every worry, every judgment. Heavy footsteps tore their lips apart. It was Chris, and he couldn't believe who he was seeing. "Bro, you sure do know how to make an entrance. Welcome back. Can't wait to hear all about your travels. What is she doing here?" He glared at Nora. Caleb looked at his brother, confused. "That's her. That's the girl who tried to deceive me. By pretending to be someone else." "Oh God, this is the Nora," Caleb said, his heart breaking a little. Nora opened her mouth to explain, but Caleb walked away, hurt and disappointed. Tears welled in Nora's eyes as she watched Caleb disappear. Caleb and Chris's voices reverberated through the house. They were so loud you could hear them miles away. Who would have thought Chris was Caleb's brother? There were no photos of him anywhere at the ranch. "She's my guest. She isn't going anywhere," Caleb said, voice tense. "This is my house too. So I decide who stays," Chris yells. "You can't just throw her out without asking for an explanation. I didn't know you to be this cruel." Caleb's voice shook. "I've said my piece, and that's final." Chris said, not backing down. Nora couldn't take the yelling anymore. She got up and walked away. She'd learnt in life that good things always come to an end. She had no money or where to go. She knocked on a neighbor's door, heart pounding. A young man answered. "Hi, do you need your barn cleaned or your stable?" "You don't have to pay me much. I promise to do a good job. Do you also do night duties as well? I pay well." Nora calmly walked away. Thank God for Mrs. Smith, who offered her a place to sleep in exchange for cleaning her stables and tending to the horses while her son was away. Caleb was right there in the space of an hour. He searched everywhere for her. Nora wasn't pleased to see him. "Please come home. It isn't the same without you." Nora remained silent. She kept busy feeding the horses. It's not fair, you know, disappearing like that, without any explanation whatsoever. Have I offended you in such a terrible way that you choose to treat me like a stranger? Your brother is right. Everything he told you. I want to hear it from your mouth. I want to know everything. Your nightmares. Why you always flinch when anyone comes close. Why you keep people at a distance. You know that's not true." Her voice soft. She glanced at Caleb, her heart fluttering. "Whatever it might be, I won't judge, I promise," he said, voice full of concern. Then silence, a second, 2 seconds. Not uncomfortable, but easy. "It's fine, you don't have to tell me. I didn't mean to be pushy. I had no choice. Being a mail order, bride was the easiest and fastest way to get out of Nigeria. Why did you come all the way here? What really happened?" "I was desperate. I didn't mean to lie. In my husband culture, when a man dies and he happens to be the only son in his lineage, his wife is expected to continue his bloodline. Well, that's what the elders told me, week after I buried my husband. I was expected to stay behind, so random men would have their way with me and become a baby-making machine. Whenever I tried to escape, I was flogged or put in a cage. Caleb's hands were clenched, his face full of anger. "Do you want me to stop, 'cause it's about to get worse?" Nora's voice cracked. He half nodded. This was the last thing I remember. 3 men came in all at once. I knew something terrible was about to happen, something that led me here. Nora took a deep breath as the memories flooded back. She shuddered. The hot pursuit, the angry villagers, their machetes. They wanted me dead. So I ran. In the dead of night, somewhere in the heart of a Nigerian town, she runs, her wrapper flapping around her legs, half torn, her eyes wide with terror. Her bare feet slap against the dusty road. Her breathing is ragged. In the distance, shouting, torchlight, the clang of metal. The night swallowed her whole. Her feet were bleeding, but she didn't dare stop. Black sky, black earth, black fear. She ran as if hell had claws, as if it knew her name. Adaobi! Voices behind her, male, familiar. Drunk with power, drunk with blood. Their machetes raised in the air, their voices loud as a trumpet. Catch her! Witch! Run all you want, your womb belongs to us. The mob chants. She didn't scream, not anymore. She had learned that screaming only excited them. The ground was sharp, unforgiving. Her dress now clung to her thighs like a blood-soaked flag. Her breathing came in rasps. Her heart battered her ribs. But she kept running, because to stop was to surrender. To stop was to be opened like an offering. But the noise in her head kept playing like a broken drum. This wasn't their first time, but this time it was memorable. She fought back. Earlier that night, the door opened with a click. Ada jumped back in shock, but she'd changed the locks after. Her husband was laid to rest, and they walked in like they owned the place. Fear coursed through her as they surrounded her, like hungry lions. 3 men, shadows, one leers, the other bolts the door. One says, "It is not a sin, Ada. It is tradition." Ada's voice shakes. "Please, I just buried him. I'm still bleeding." Her husband's cousin grips her arm and says, "Then bleed life into his name." Their hands are on her. Her wrists are pinned. "Lie back, widow. Let your womb serve your husband one last time." Her hand finds the vase, the heavy one, her wedding gift. Ceramic, sacred. She swings. Crack. Blood sprays. One man falls screaming. The other lunges. She kicks, scrambles. Crash! She dives through the window. She crashes into drums, knocks over a basket of yams. Screams pierce the night. I didn't want to kill him. I didn't want to fight. I just wanted to be left alone, to grieve, to breathe. But they came anyway. They called it duty. They called it law. But what law lets a woman be buried alive inside her own body? Somewhere behind her, someone shouted, "There she is!" Adaobi bolted again, pain shooting through her leg. Her feet bled, her soul burned. She turned onto a dirt path flanked by rusted zinc fences, praying to any god who would still listen. She didn't want to die. Not like this. Not hunted. Not shamed. She spotted the river ahead, black and wide under the moonlight. If she could reach it, cross it, disappear into the bush. But the torches were closer now. She heard a man laugh. "You think you can escape your duty, widow? The gods are watching." Duty. They called it duty when they stripped a grieving woman of choice. Called it culture when they pinned her down. Called it justice when they stoned her for refusal. Adaobi didn't care what they called it anymore. She just wanted to live. To survive was rebellion enough. So she jumped in. She's free in here, not bound by culture made by men. For it was better to die in this water than by their hands. Water rushed down her throat, pushing her down. With the help of 2 men, Ada was pulled out of the river. Water spluttered out of her mouth in quick succession. "You are lucky to be alive, my friend. I told you to go through the forest. You could have died." "I was going to die either way," Ada said, weak and tired. "Let me rest a little and we'll find my way." Amaka shook her head. "You think those men would stop looking for you?" She shoved a bag into Ada's hands and said, "Your passport, your visa, and a change of clothes are in here." Ada looked at her friend, tears in her eyes. "Thank you. I don't know how to repay you. Let's not worry about that. Your name is now Nora, not Adobe, don't forget. Go straight to Madam B. She knows what to do. They hugged briefly, both crying. Then Ada hurried off into the night. Clutching the bag to her chest, Nora shivered as the memories played in her head. She wiped a tear rolling down her cheek. Caleb embraced her. She rested her head on his shoulder. That's not culture, but oppression. I'm so sorry that happened to you, my darling. They should be behind bars and the key thrown into the ocean. Well, it's such a shame that's never going to happen. Not when men make the rules, Nora said. Nora shut her eyes. The atmosphere was peaceful. She breathed in some fresh air. Have you considered therapy? She shook her head. I know this guy, he's really good, Caleb said, caressing her cheek. Know anyone for self-defense? My darling, you are safe here, I promise. I know. I'd always wanted to learn. I can teach you. Nora smiled, shaking her head. No, please, I want an actual instructor. So I'm hurt. You hurt my feelings, Nora, Caleb said, smiling softly. I'm sorry, it's just that Nora looked away. It's just what? I'm attracted to you. Well, that's still not... Wait, hold on. Did you just say what I heard? I think I'm falling for you. Nora held his face. Then silence. Comfortable and easy silence. Caleb stood there, taking it all in. It's okay if you don't. I do. More than you could ever imagine. Do you know how hard it was for me not to say those words? Had to rein myself in so I wouldn't blurt it out like a fool. I was scared of pushing you away. Caleb held her hand. As he poured out his feelings, Oh, my darling, I'm sorry, Nora said. Oh, no, young lady. You gotta find your own pet name. I call you my darling 'cause you make me feel alive again. You've awoken every feeling I had buried. Every single damn one. I love you, Nora. Do you think I'm really lovable or you just pity me? Of course, my darling, you are... Trust me. If you heard my story, you'd know I'm not perfect either. I don't think you have any bad bone in your body. Oh, Mom, I do, but therapy has helped a lot. I don't believe you. You're just trying to make me feel better, Nora said, giving a small smile. Then let me shock you. It was 2 weeks to our wedding. I'm talking about Olivia, my ex. When I found out she'd already gotten married to some rich investor in the city, I almost burnt down her house. I had already started pouring fuel around her lawn. I struck a match. Thank God Chris came and snatched the match from my hands. Oh my goodness, Nora exclaimed. Oh my gosh, you went psycho. Yeah, a moment of temporary insanity. Still not my proudest moment. I love this psycho. Nora kissed him. Slow at first. Then it intensified. I love you, Caleb said mid-kiss. Do you know how hard it was to be around all this hotness? I wanted to grab you every time I saw you, just to hold you, and feel your heart beating against mine. Like now, Nora asked. Caleb nodded. The two were lost in each other's eyes, that they didn't notice Olivia enter. Caleb, I see you found my replacement. Caleb held Nora's hand firmly and started walking into his house. You can run all you want, but you can't hide the truth, Olivia sneered. Caleb ignored her and kept walking. Nora tried to remove her hand, but he held on. I thought you've gotten over that fetish. Feels like uni all over again. You wanted us to have a threesome with that black girl. You kept pestering me until I gave in. I thought you were over that. But I can see you still like experimenting on girls like her. Caleb's free hand clenched into a fist. His body became tense. He turned, anger erupting through him. You'll not talk to my woman in that manner. It's okay, babe, I'm fine. Babe? Olivia half laughed. You think he actually likes you? He's actually with you 'cause he thinks. Black girls are freaks in bed. He's gonna get bored and leave you for someone like me. Someone with class and not some desperate black girl. Nora stepped up to Olivia and said, Say that again, I dare you. Olivia fell back a little scared, but she composed herself and said, Well, ain't you a Nigerian girl who pretended to be a South African beauty, and you have the audacity to lecture me about shame? You came here as a mail-order bride. Nora's shoulder tensed as Olivia hit her in the face with her secrets. Chris rejected you and then you decided to get your claws on his brother. Gosh, you're such a pathetic loser. So who should be ashamed now? Not me, Olivia laughed. Caleb had heard enough. He stormed off. He couldn't believe his brother could betray him this way. His hands were curled into fists. Nora moved to stop him from doing something stupid. But Olivia pulled her back. So here's the deal. Leave my Caleb, and we good, but if you don't. You know what identity theft is, right? I know you do. You're a smart girl. And if you don't, you'll be deported back to your country in a heartbeat. Dare me and see, Olivia said, smirking.